one side moving too fast or too slow. The second layer at which the Green New Deal operates is to target on domestic policies. And we are saying that we need to have a clear focus on reducing perverse subsidies. Today, it's the surprising but sad truth that an estimated $240 to $310 billion per annum of subsidy is provided in terms of prices of production towards oil and gas industry, and oil and gas and coal, rather, basically fossil fuels. That clearly is something that is there at the national level, has to be addressed nationally. It cannot really be forced into any international framework. Incentives and taxes have to be aligned. There has to be a need to develop tax structures which reflect risk and reflect the use of environment. Management of water is vital. It's a sad fact that 50% of water in most developing countries, which depend upon land-based irrigation systems, 50% of the water is lost between the point of origin, which is usually a river or a lake or whatever, to the point where it is used in the field. So something that's scarce and already a subject of scarcity is further exacerbated because of the poor efficiency of delivery. Environmental legislation needs to be looked at domestically. And of course, monitoring and accountability. What this translates is there are too many sectors in which one can make changes, and we focused on really four broad sectors. The first being energy efficient buildings, because no matter whether you are a rich nation or a developing nation, you will have buildings which are too inefficient in their use of energy, and you can absorb the current overcapacity in the economy, especially in the construction sector, which employs more than 100 million people globally. You can use that capacity with existing technology to reduce the energy footprint of your buildings, be they schools or factories or government departments or homes. And there's every reason, economically as well as socially, why that should be done. This is one of the means of creating jobs. Sustainable transport is about ensuring that more transportation is public and that the cost of private transportation includes the social cost, including the emissions costs. Sustainable energy, of course, we all know about that and speak about that, and that's not just in using alternative energies, but also ensuring that we do not hold back the enabling conditions for growing new businesses in renewable energy, finance, regulations, providing a level playing field. And last, and especially relevant for the developing nations and the lesser developed countries, is primary productivity in agriculture, attending to that and attending to fresh water, both in terms of agricultural flows and also in terms of sanitation, which is a clear problem. The multiplier on investing money in these areas is very high. I must say that in sustainable energy, people assume that it's about windmills and it's about large hydroelectric dams and it's about wind and wave. It's not just that. It's also about providing non-grid solutions to the poor. And I'll give you just one example to show what I mean, where in Bangladesh, which is clearly one of the poorer countries, there is a very successful enterprise called Grameen Shakti, which has already installed solar PV electricity in 250,000 village homes. So what they do is they largely sell these solar PV panels to housewives on microfinance, and the housewife sells the surplus electricity to her neighbors, and she prices them at the opportunity cost of kerosene, which is mainly what is used to fuel the energy. And it works as a business model, which then provides microfinance, which enables her to buy the panel and to repay. They are installing solar PV panels at the rate of 10,000 a month in Bangladesh. They are targeting 1 million homes by the end of next year. And by 2015, the CEO of the company told me that he wants to cover 7.5 million homes, which means half the rural population of Bangladesh. And that is amongst the poorest nations, and guess where? They are not buying their solar panels from some subsidized supplier. They're buying it on the open marketplace from Japan, as it happens. So clearly it works. It works without subsidies, it works with the right incentives and the right framework. And it works without the assumption that you need a massive and expensive grid to provide electricity to the poorest in the village. When you provide that electricity rather than kerosene, two things happen. Your children can study late, and they can do better and evolve into more rich and more fulfilled citizens later on in the next generation. And secondly, they don't have to imbibe the fumes of kerosene, which of course cause many bronchial problems. So health improves and education also improves. So these are the ways in which I think the Green New Deal proposals that we have put forward hopefully will be of some value both to developed as well as to developing and lesser developed countries. More generally, I'll say that I've just highlighted in a different color all of the elements of the Global Green New Deal which relate to poverty, to show you that the word green, while it comes from the environment, is actually not only an environmental view. It is very much a holistic approach towards the solution of our current economic model. And it does focus on that key element of eradicating poverty. The link between ecosystems and poverty has unfortunately not been enough emphasized, and in the TEED project we've certainly made it a point to provide and prove linkages between each one of the Millennium Development Goals and the underlying environmental issue that caused it. Here's an example from Haiti. Not sure if this works, but roughly you can see that river which divides Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and you can see the kind of cover that you have here on the right side, on the Dominican Republic side, and what you have in Haiti. This is a NASA photograph, so it's fairly accurate. Reason is because there are no policies to protect the environment. Haiti has lost 97% of its forest cover. All the rainfall comes through as an annual flood, and the rest of the year there's a drought. There's no question of enough agricultural productivity. The Arizak River irrigation system, the dam, is basically already partially silted up. Over the last 40 years, half of Haiti's agricultural land is barren and therefore infertile, and therefore there's no question of development. So you can't achieve MDG 1, which is eliminate hunger. You can't achieve MDG 8, which is about developing and so-called global partnership. How can you do that without even agriculture? Maternal health, well, clearly cannot be met in a situation like that where there isn't enough food supply. And the worst is that 90% of the children of Haiti suffer from chronic intestinal problems because of the quality of the water that they drink, because it comes through in the flash flood or it has been held stale for the remaining months of the year. This is the result of environmental failure on poverty, on the MDGs. So when people talk about MDGs and environment, the last one that I think about is MDG 7, which is about the environment. I think of all the others first, because that's where the real problem is. This can be converted in economic terms, and my background, as Ilva kindly mentioned, is from the Green Accounting Project from India, and we had the statistics for India, where if we look at ecosystem services and how much they provide in terms of benefits to people, we found that answer is about 7%. So 7% of ecosystem service value in terms of flows of nutrients and water from the forest to the field, and collection of non-timber forest products, and so on is concerned. But there's another way of looking at it. To whom do these benefits flow? And if we ask that question, to whom do the benefits flow? The answer is, well, guess what? Water and nutrients from the forest to the field, they flow to subsistence farmers, to the poor. Gathering of non-timber forest products, who does that? Not you and I. We just go to the supermarket and buy our things. It's the poor who do that. Fisheries, coastal fisheries, we don't do that. It's the poor again. Collecting fuel wood for timber, we've got gas and stoves in our homes. We don't collect fuel wood. Again, it's the poor.